Mortgage rates slightly easing and more people listing their homes for sale. Redfin predicts 2024 will be the year home buyers can finally catch a break. From on all things housing, we're joined by Chen Zhao, Redfin head of economic research. Good to see you here this morning. So with rates, with that first rate cut potentially coming in the first half of 2024, Chen, how do you think that the spring and summer buying season will shape up?
Hi, absolutely. Yes. So we think that 2024 home buying season is going to be, better than what we saw in 2023, which was largely a frozen housing market for existing homes. Inventory was really low, mortgage rates was really high, and home prices remained really high. So that kept a lot of buyers on the sidelines. What we're starting to see is, as you guys have mentioned, mortgage rates are starting to come down a little bit. We anticipate that continuing into 2024. And very importantly, we're starting to see a lot more homeowners come to Redfin agents to talk about potentially listing their homes. And we're seeing that rate, substantially higher than it was in 2023. So we think that the inventory for existing homes could be quite a bit higher in 2024 than in 2023, which should be welcome news for home buyers. And coupled with slightly lower mortgage rates, we think that'll help to unfreeze the housing market a little bit. So we should see transactions starting to increase in 2024. We see us ending the year at a pace about 4.5 million existing home sales, which would bring the total for 2024 to about 4.3 million home sales. And then if you think about them prices, well, that really just depends on the relative increase in supply versus demand. We see a potentially larger increase in supply than in demand, which means that home prices could actually fall a little bit nationally in 2024, maybe 1%.
What type? Okay, so 1% there. I was going to ask, what type of material difference or delta are you expecting in pricing, specifically with more listings that come on the market?
Yeah, so 1% may not sound like a lot, but when you think about what happened during the pandemic, when home prices were going up, like 10, 15, 20% year over year for a couple of years there, a 1% fall is actually a pretty big, difference. And even as mortgage rates were, increasing in 2023, we didn't actually see home prices falling nationally on a sustained basis. But we think that we've really hit a ceiling for affordability now. We've reached this point where, rates are really high. They're going to fall a little bit, but they're not going to fall like a ton. And prices have remained pretty high. So we're at this point where prices can't really increase very much. So as more supply comes on, we do see prices easing a little bit. So this isn't going to, completely change the picture. It's not a complete game changer for home buyers who are waiting for prices to fall, but it should help to ease the picture a little bit.
Chen, what's your best advice to that millennial who has been on the sidelines the past few years, wanting to buy a home, but just hasn't been able to afford it? Do they buy at the first sign of rates coming down in the first half of next year, or do they actually wait for the Fed to cut rates and potentially buy that house later in 2024, early 2025?
So my advice to anyone who's looking to buy, especially a first-time home buyer, is to not try to time the market down to like the month. If you're right now sitting there trying to, find a home, especially when inventory is so low, when you find the home that is appropriate for your family, and if you can afford it, you can make those monthly payments comfortably, I would, go for it. If you're worried that rates are going to fall more, well, you can refinance when rates do fall more. But it's very hard to time the exact dynamics of the housing market. What's going to happen between January and May and December is really hard to predict. We can sort of foresee kind of these broad trends, but I'm not going to put a ton of money on, May being slightly better than March or, worse than September. So I think you should just think about your own personal circumstances more than trying to figure out the exact, month of the year to buy.
Chen Zhao, Redfin head of economic research. Chen, thanks so much for taking the time here today to break down this housing market with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.